Hi, it's Jack Idell. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Good evening to you all and welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. Before we start, please let us know if the volume of those clips was slightly more appropriate than the tester that we ran the other week, because we're conscious that it kind of blew all your ears off. So let us know if the volume was at a good enough level for you there. But welcome back to your home for laughs, tears and everything in between as we talk about the beautiful game and, of course, our very own Bolton Wanderers. This evening we are joined by Mr. Short Baldwin Sides Chris Dawson, your favourite wind-up merchant Colin Yates, the rose between lots of thorns Angela Abbott, and of course myself, Ben Timberlake. So strap yourselves in because it's always a bumpy ride, and of course enjoy the show. I mean, where is the time gone? The Fanzone Pod returns for season 3, and I think it's safe to say it's our pleasure to have you all tuned in with us this evening. How are we all doing in the live chat? Get your comments in as we go through this evening's episode, but it'll be nice to have a chat with you all. It's just like old times, eh? But we'll go to the panel. Chris, how are you this evening?
Yeah, good. Yeah, you've just forced me away from the tennis, but I'll let you off.
I do apologise.
He's going to get through, unfortunately, but hey, there you go. But otherwise, very well.
Fantastic. Ange, how are you?
I'm good. A little bit, obviously, worse for wear, as per Sunday tradition dictates. After the football yesterday, yeah, but I'm good. It's been a while. I'm good. I'm happy we're back.
Indeed. And a hangover, Ange, on a Sunday is just like old times. We wouldn't have it any other way, would we? And last, but by absolutely no means least, Carl, how are you?
Best of last. You know.
Debatable.
Well,
Here we go again.
Here we go. Start the season is meant to go on, as they say. No, I'm good. Thank you very much, Ben. Looking forward to another season of the podcast. Looking forward to doing all our deep dives into the games and previews and everything else in between. So yeah, excited for it. Recharged. Gotta get England out of the way first, haven't we? But yeah, looking forward to the Wanderers, of course.
Just to say, we did not coordinate clothes either.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's this?
No.
We do this all the
we
time.
seem to be doing this. We went through a phase last season where it looked like we were constantly turning up at funerals, but we can definitely assure everyone that we don't arrange our outfits. Mark, so the only one who's asked, I'm very well, thank you. Maybe I'll invite you on for next week or next episode instead of everybody else. But enough of the chatter. We're, of course, this evening joined by a special guest. To those of you, I don't think anybody has mentioned it in the chat or mentioned it on our socials. We did a cryptic tweet, which some of you might have guessed. But
it took me a while to figure it out. I was like,
yeah, I'm just going to have a go. Tell you what you're doing. You got your caps wrong.
We're delighted this evening to welcome Bolton Wanderers women's first team manager Miles Smith to the Fanzone Podcast. So, a very warm welcome to you, Miles. How are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. I didn't get the memo for the clothes, unfortunately.
Pretty glad you didn't, Miles, to be honest.
No, all good this time. Thanks for inviting me on. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
You know, you are. It's our pleasure, absolutely. As always, for those of you who are watching at home, if those of you are listening back on Spotify and wondering how you can get involved, then please head over to our YouTube channel or our socials. All of the information you need on live shows are over there. And if you want to join in the live chat and get your comments out on the episodes, then come and say hello. But feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Before we get to Miles, tomorrow will be a week in post for you. So tell us about your journey into sort of becoming the Bolton Wanderers women's first team manager.
Yeah, I've just returned to England recently. I did a year out in Saudi Arabia for Al Ittihad. prior to that, I was based in Manchester, which is where I am back now. I was at Man United, and then prior to that, I was at West Ham United, women's and men's, in numerous different roles: academy director, assistant manager, sports scientist, analyst, head of scouting, loads of different roles across sort of a 10-year spell, if you will. So returned to England, sort of end of May time. And saw the announcement of Bolton Women's going into the main club, the men taking them in, which was an unbelievable announcement. It shows what the club are looking to do. I went in and had a chat with Neil Hart, and then that sort of brings us where we are today. Really, a couple of interviews and meetings later, and yeah, I started officially on the Monday just gone. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, you've got quite the portfolio, but talk to us about the game in Saudi. Obviously, the men's game has sort of burst into the limelight, if you will. Is there a similar trend with the women's game going on over there?
Yeah, there is. There really is. Everybody out there is buzzing and backing women's football, which I think some people over in the Western world find hard to believe because of the stereotype and the stigma that some people have got about the country. But they're really trying to change. They're really trying to change and change their ways and some of the past and some of the things that have happened in the past. And they're all for women's sport. They're part of the Saudi 2030 vision, one of the pillars. And as you can imagine, they've definitely got the financial backing. So I think in maybe 3 to 5 to possibly 7 years to come, it will be one of the top women's leagues in women's football globally. I really think it does have that potential.
Miles, just a quick one on that one. Of course, you work for Al Ittihad. Is that the correct pronunciation? I do apologise if it's not. Did you ever come across Cristiano? I'm eager to learn that.
Everybody's ready to ask that.
No, he's at NASA, so he's at one of our main rivals, and it's basically they're in Riyadh and we're in Jeddah, so it's a little bit like Riyadh's kind of like the London, if you will, of Saudi Arabia, and Jeddah's kind of like the north, if you will, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit nicer, a little bit better. But no, I never did. I know Benzema and Jota and Kante, they was all at my old club, and used to push shoulders with them and see them pretty much every day, to be honest, or at least 5 days a week.
Do you see it over with the development? Sorry, with the development of the women's game in Saudi, do you see it a similar kind of scenario with players who've obviously made their fame in England, in America, etc., being sort of targeted by the Saudis as sort of, marquee signings to lead and get some sort of exposure on the leagues over there?
With the men's?
No, with the women's game. So, as it's happened with the names that you just mentioned with the men's game, to give exposure to football in Saudi, do you think that will happen with the women's game over there as well? They'll get players like, I don't know, Frank Kirby, Alessia Russo, etc., coming over there?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, look, when I was there, I took over or helped to take over Ashley Plumter, who's had an unbelievable World Cup, and the World Cup just gone. Was at Leicester at the time as centre back, and had a lot of opportunities where she could have gone to a lot of clubs in Europe and America, but chose Saudi. Leanne Robe, another one, was at Liverpool and came over. But in terms of sort of some of your, some of the names that you've mentioned, definitely. I think when I was there, it's no exaggeration that my phone was probably, I had a phone call at least every 2 to 3 weeks off a world-class player or a world-class player's agent asking me, we want to be there. We want to come and join. We've seen some of the stuff. When I was out there, I did a few podcasts and did a few articles and things like that, and people read it. And yeah, my phone was just not stopping. It's a place where everybody wanted to be. And to be honest, some of these world-class footballers, I think people immediately think, well, they want to be there for the money. That's everybody's first thought. But some of these world-class footballers, we were offering them less. We were offering them less money and a lesser package than what they was already earning at some top clubs. And they still wanted to be there. They still wanted to come over. I think especially in women's football, as players start to get to the end of their career, that they really want to make a change in the game. You know, they really want to try and change the game, and changing football for women in the Middle East is obviously an unbelievable thing to do. So I think everybody sort of had a little bit of motivation for that side of things as well.
Excellent.
Yes, you moved back over from Saudi and you landed in Bolton. I read in the article that was released when you got the job that 180 applicants had their names down, and you were the one that was chosen. Obviously, there's a whole host of reasons why, you know, Neil Hart and the rest of the board would have thought that you were the right fit for Bolton. But what made you think that Bolton was the right fit for you?
It was the size of the project. It was the potential that and the ambition that the club have for the women's team and for the club in general. You know, from walking in and I've just been in for a week at the training ground and at the stadium every single day. There's a massive buzz around the place. There really is. There's excitement, and every staff member in the players. Some of the players I saw that were there. Obviously, most of them have been away this week, but there's just a real buzz. There's a real buzz around the place. And I got that from the minute I walked in, doing my interview and having meetings. You know, and what's quite refreshing to learn this week is there's so many. You guys will know there's so many long-serving staff at the club. And they're just so passionate. They're just so passionate about Bolton. They're just so passionate about the badge on their chest and wanting to do as good as they can for this club. And some of them working, you know, a lot of hours and giving a lot of stuff up in life for the club. And that's always a good sign. I've been at clubs where it's not quite like that. And people don't have that heart, you know, that desire and that passion for the club. But, you know, I think certainly in the early days and meeting Neil and meeting the rest of the board, I think it was what this can be and what the club want to do with this, and it's super exciting what hopefully we're going to go on to achieve, you know. And the club have already, with some of the actions that they've done, some of the decisions they've made, they're already sort of showing people that this is, you know, we're doing this properly, we're doing this seriously, and to be able to lead that and to be able to help bring this to where it wants to get to is you know, it's an exciting. Whenever I look for jobs, it's the potential of the jobs. What can this be? I did it at West Ham. When I was at West Ham, I helped them move from you know, a semi-professional model, part-time model into a full-time professional model. And in our second season, we got to an FA Cup final at Wembley in front of 40,000 plus fans. We lost against Man City, but I don't say that part often.
Gee. Just on that. So when we talk about the women's game, I think for the people watching tonight, it might be a good idea to give them a little bit of context, and that leads us on to this question that we have here from Radix. In terms, is there a women's football pyramid? From my understanding, there is. Where does Bolton Wanderers women's team sit within that pyramid currently?
It's a great question, Matt.
Yeah, it is. It's an excellent question. I think it's good now just to paint pictures about what the plans are for the women's team for the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it's refreshing to see people asking those types of questions, because people are interested. That's what that tells me, and that's what we want. So, look, there is a pyramid. There's 7 tiers in the pyramid. Obviously, WSL being tier 1 and the Women's Championship being tier 2. That's where most of your full-time clubs will sit. Players that are full-time, have full-time salaries and full-time staff members and the rest of it. Bolton are currently in tier 6 at the moment, so tier 6 out of 7. So just going back to earlier, you know, when I took the role, I had opportunities in the WSL, in the Women's Championship as first team coach, assistant manager, back in Saudi Arabia and some clubs in Europe. But it just goes to show how much the size of the project impressed me, you know, and what the club are looking to do to take a club in tier 6. You know, even I thought at the time tier 6 a little bit low for me. I've never really worked at that level before. But as I said, the ambition of the club is to get out of tier 6 straight away. It's no secret we want to get promoted this year. Only one goes up, and we finished, I think, around 33, 35 points off promotion last year. So that's 11 or 12 wins. So we've got our work cut out. There's no secret there. But we want to get promoted. We want to climb the leagues as the years go on, and we want to be a tier 2 and hopefully tier 1 team in the future. That's what we're looking to do. We want to be swimming with some of these big fishes, your Man City's, Arsenal's, your clubs in the Championship, London City Lionesses, and those types of teams. That's where the club wants to get to, and that's hoping I can at least start that process.
Yeah, that actually. Oh, there you go. Sorry, somebody's picked that up already.
Another comment we've had in from Malk. Malk said, "Where are the women's home games going to be played?"
Yeah, so the club have just made a partnership with Schooner Stadium. So we're playing at the Schooner Stadium. I think it's a nice little 1,500-seater stand in there, which is good. I think, again, it goes to show what the club are wanting to do everything properly. And they've just completely redone the pitch for me, which is nice. I think the head groundsman or some of the groundsmen of the men's staff have gone over and done that. And again, it just shows that the club wants to do things properly. Some of these clubs in tier 6, tier 7, tier 5, you can imagine they don't play on great facilities, and they don't have access to amazing things, and they don't have a lot of finance, they don't have a lot of infrastructure as you go down the leagues in women's football. But Bolton are certainly providing all of that, and hopefully we can reward everybody, the fans and the players and the families and everybody involved with that by getting promotion.
And that's going to be so much better for the women, because prior to that, and I used to go and occasionally watch them, they were playing at the training ground, so they were on 4G rather than on proper grass playing. Yeah. So that's massive, I think, for the women's game. Get them on the grass, that's how they should be.
And it's super important, people overlook it, but some of the damage that 4G can do on bodies is not great, especially on females, with the hips and the knees and ACLs and things like that. So I met with the club last week, and I explained that it's important for me to train on grass with these players, and we've got access to the grass pitches at Lostock, and it wasn't an issue with the club. I've been at some clubs, and you have to jump through the rings for about 2 years in order to get that done. So the club they're really wanting to make this work, and they're really backing everything that we're asking for.
Miles, just a question on Atherton Coles football stadium. Obviously, that you alluded to is around 1,500 capacity. Do you guys have any targets in terms of crowd numbers? What kind of, in an ideal world, what kind of attendances are you looking to try to attract type of thing? Is that the type of thing that would sit within your remit?
It wouldn't, no, and I'm sure that the club do. I'm sure that Neil is sort of got his ideas on what he wants that to look like, and I'm confident, and I'm pretty sure the club will put on things like family fun days and things like that to get for some of the bigger games or rival games, if you will. But I don't actually know what that is at the moment. But yeah, they'll have what they want to be there, and how many people they want through the gates and all the rest of it. We're hoping, obviously, to get as many as we can. We're hoping.
Will they be charging for? So they were always been free to watch when we were down at the training ground. So are they going to pop a little like monetary value to the ladies' game now?
I don't know. It's a good question. I honestly don't know. I'm not too sure on that side of things just yet.
I think it'd be good for the girls to be playing in front of half decent numbers, though, wouldn't it? That certainly won't do them any harm, would it? If the club can back that, and the fact certainly the fans can back it as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
What's the situation with recruitment, Miles? Isn't there some?
We've got open trials going.
Open trials coming up, yeah.
Yeah, so we did that last week. So last week was very much me, getting my feet under the desk, meeting everybody at the stadium and the training ground, and then trying to put a team together. I said it earlier, we finished 35 roughly points off top of the league last year. So that tells me that at the moment, if we want to win the league, we need some new faces in the room. You could have the best manager in the world sat here, but 35 points is a lot of points to make up with exactly the same team. So it's football, and you never have the same team year in, year out. It changes every single year. So we will be losing some people that have been at the club for some time, and we wish them all the best and thank them for what they've done. And we will be bringing in some new faces. So we did some trials last week. We did an internal trial to start with. It was important for me to give everybody at the club currently, all the players, an opportunity to just train on their own and trial on their own, without all these external faces coming in. So we did that first. And then we did a couple of external trials, which were good. We had some good numbers there, and more importantly, we had some good players. And now it's about sort of external recruitment, so going out and recruiting from teams throughout the tiers, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, but also looking at the connections that I've got within the game with some of your big academies in the local area and trying to link up there. It's a little bit different for me, this, to be honest, because I've always worked where I've had, players on full-time salaries, and I've had a playing budget, and there's transfer fees involved, just like you'd expect in the men's. So this is a little bit different. Most players down this end of the pyramid, they're not paid. If they are, it's sort of an expense or a bonus sort of structure. But most of them aren't paid. Most of them obviously don't have any agents and things like that, which is the nice part, to be honest. Obviously, there's no transfer fees involved. But yeah, it's a little bit just kind of, this is what we're doing. Do you want to be a part of it rather than an actual transfer?
I've got a question on that, Miles, actually, because obviously Bolton Wanderers Football Club is a name in the men's game, especially within the EFL, and to a point in terms of some of the clubs in the Premier League as well. There's a perception that a lot of players would walk to become Bolton Wanderers Football Club players on the men's side for obvious reasons that we're not here to get into, as we all know. But what type of appetite is that on the women's side? Is it the same type of thing, or Bolton Wanderers are asking to sign me, or we're interested in signing me? Would that appetite be there on the women's side as well?
Yes, definitely. There is. I think the players that I've spoken to, they've certainly seemed excited by the club and being a part of the club and what we're doing. And it's nice. Some players I've spoken to have been massive Bolton fans, which is always helpful. I think where the challenge has been slightly is we do play in tier 6 at the moment. We're in the 6th tier of women's football, and only one off being in the lowest tier. So players that are playing in tier 4, tier 3, you have to try and explain why it'd be good for them to come and join a tier 6 team. And I will never ever try and convince a player to come if it's not the right thing for them. But I genuinely believe what we're going to offer at Bolton as a program will be unbelievable. It's going to be as close to a full-time professional program as you can expect in a WSL team, and that's what I hope to do.
That kind of leads me on to my next question as well. Sorry, I'm not peppering your questions here. I just asked. I wrote a few down before we started.
Interrogation, we call it.
Yeah, interrogation. I love questions. You can tell I'm a salesman, can't you? I just ask questions all the time. By trade. Man United, you were talent ID recruitment. You'll have to excuse my research on the title, but I was curious. Were you involved in the acquisitions of recruitment of the likes of Ella Toon and Millie Turner and Mary Earps and people like that? Were you involved in that recruitment program?
No, not at that time. I wasn't there at that time. But basically, it's I guess it's a fancy title for being involved in. It's a scout. It's a scouting role. But yeah, not at that time. I was actually only at Man United for a short spell. I joined the club and took the role, and was very happy in the club and the role, and things were going really well. And then I got a call from my agent to go out to Saudi Arabia, and obviously you don't expect that every day. It came really randomly on a Tuesday, so I probably would have been at the club a lot longer. But the opportunity came up around in Saudi Arabia, and that's what sort of left the Man United role being a little bit shorter than what I first anticipated.
Yeah, it's certainly got an eye for talent, no doubt.
I'm sure many Wanderers fans will be keen on keeping up to date. And when I was reading the article that the club put out, they said that a women's sort of section of the website and social pages are sort of on their way and will be ready to go pretty soon. Have you got any updates on that? How can us fans keep up to date and in the loop with all the women's teams goings on?
Well, firstly, tuning into this podcast will help.
You can come back again.
No, but yeah, the social media, I actually had a sit down with the commercial, the media department earlier in the week. And the social media is in the process of getting sorted and getting up and running. So I think, just like you would in the men's, following the social media and things like that. And obviously coming down to watch the games.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Just on
well,
that. If you've got meetings this week, Miles, we're adding to your agenda here and some ideas. So you can have this one for free, and it's from Martin, who mentions that if there is a charge at Atherton to incentivise support, how about free entry for season ticket holders? Which I think is a great show. I think it ties things in quite nicely. So a good show that, Martin.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Historically, that's something the club's done for like reserve matches.
Yeah.
Historically speaking and stuff. So hopefully that comes to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. I'll make sure to mention it. I will for sure.
Excellent.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to have you with us this evening, Miles. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on.
Look after yourself, mate. Good luck.
Cheers. Ta-da. Thank you.
So, season 3 is officially underway. Miles Smith, the first guest of season 3. How are we all feeling in the chat? You'll have to let us know. Wanderers have had some new faces through the door. Some new signings have been made, but they aren't the only people that have had some new faces through the door. And we are very, very, very excited to welcome you some new sponsors. We've got an exciting list of sponsors for the 2024-25 season. And I suppose it's probably about time we introduced you to them, really. So without further ado, let's have it.
Ladies and gents,
It's time to reveal your sponsors
For the Fanzone Podcast.
heading into the 2024-2025 season.
So, there you have it. The Fanzone Podcast welcomes 8 sponsors this season. 3 familiar faces to you all. Hopefully won't have to remind you who they are. Hopefully I've drummed it into you enough over the course of last season. But 5 new sponsors. So let's run through some of them. iHeat, some of you may know as the Bolton Wanderers Platinum Business Partner and shirt sleeve sponsor in the Papa John's final at Wembley. We've got Johnston Tiling for all of your tiling needs, whether it's bathrooms, kitchens, or anything in between. Jenna Louise Salmon, who is a Wanderers fan, most importantly, but also a local mortgage and protection advisor. We've got football away days for your home for the top tier away day content on socials, and D20 Creative, which is my own project offering photography and videography for individuals and for businesses. But of course, those 5 are joined by 3 returning faces in Wooden Grounds, home of the perfect football fan gifts. We're delighted to welcome back Loving My Socials as your official sponsor of the preview show, brought to you by us here at the Fanzone Podcast. And finally, I'm sure it didn't take many of you long to figure out who this season's headline sponsor would be. So I think a huge thank you and a welcome back to your incredible headline sponsor of the Fanzone Podcast, which is, of course, the one and only Eco Warm Windows, the place to go for fitted windows and doors. And I think it was Ange that actually mentioned that we're almost a one-stop shop for any first-time buyers out there or anyone moving house. So
anybody needs to find a house, we can sort you out big time.
We just need, if any of you know any removal companies who want to sponsor a podcast, we're just missing a trick, and that's it. We're job done.
Just missing a truck.
Any estate agents looking to get involved, we may as well send us an email. It'd be,
what have we got? What have we got there then? Right, let's go through it. So we've got getting a mortgage through Jenna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fitting your new windows through Chris.
Yeah.
Getting a new boiler through iHeat.
Yeah.
Getting your tiling done through Johnson's Tiling.
Yeah.
What else am I missing? Getting some new wooden frames around your house like Chris has got behind
Yeah,
me.
yeah, you got
Decorating it, yeah.
Decorating the place. What else am I missing? That's all of them, isn't it?
Ben can take some pictures of it for you.
Ben can take some pictures. Oh, yeah.
And then Leanne put it
Did you
on
mention
social
boilers?
media.
I'm putting it on social. So yeah, it fits on it, everything. So yeah.
Gosh.
Boom.
We've certainly done a good job there. But our sponsors, we couldn't do this without you. However, we would also be stuck without any sponsors, or we'd all be out of pocket at least. So it is massively important. It is massively important that we have sponsors on board. So a huge thank you to all of those, and I would hope that you all sort of show your support to them throughout the season. A lot of our sponsors are gearing up for a really big season with us. We've been blown away by the support for the podcast, and there's no doubt that without all of you watching and listening, we wouldn't be able to attract such a wide range of quality sponsors. But as always, getting back to you fans is important to us, and that's why we're teaming up with our sponsors over the course of the season to give away some exciting prizes. And to kick things off, we have got a couple of things for you. So if you want to have a look around Wooden Grounds, there is some incredible stuff on sale over there. You can get yourself 10% off your order with a Fanzone 10 discount code. So if you fancy getting yourself some frames, then head over, use that code at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order. And another exciting one, Loving My Socials, your official preview sponsor, are giving away 2 tickets to the Fiorentina preseason game. So all you need to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow Loving My Socials on Twitter and on Facebook, and you'll be entered. And more information on that will be revealed on our socials tomorrow.
I think just to add on the sponsors, it's massively important as well, because I'm sure you're probably going to touch upon this in fairness, but it helps grow it as well, more importantly. And it allows us to do, and we will be doing, exciting new projects that I'm sure Ben's going to probably get into at some point, whether it's today or in the near future, that we've got planned for next season. So it allows us to grow as a podcast and obviously deliver for all you guys on a Sunday evening.
Absolutely. Another thing that we've been sort of working on in behind the scenes, which is finally ready to go. We're also really, really happy to reveal that we're working alongside one of our lovely viewers, and we're giving away 2 retro. I don't want to insult the people on the panel here, because they probably had those shirts long ago in their minds.
I've still got one of them. You wash.
For me, retro, old school. For these lot, they probably think it was a couple of years ago. But we're giving away 2 Bolton Wanderers shirts and a signed Super John McGinley poster. We're giving those away in aid of SANS. For those of you who don't know, they are an incredible charity, and they offer to support to those who experience the tragedy of pregnancy loss and the death of a baby. And I'm sure as parents, many of you watching this couldn't even begin to imagine the immense pain and grief. And so one of our incredible viewers has kindly given us the shirts and the poster to give away. It's a charity that's close to his heart. And so what we're doing is we're asking for donations to be made to our Just Giving page that we've set up. The link for that is in the description, and it will be on our socials very, very soon. But however, due to gambling rules, we can't legally make you donate to be entered. So if you would like
to see your heart
free. If you'd like to enter for free, then please send us an email. You can find our email on the website, and it's your full name, the shirt you'd like to win, your address and phone number. But we would, of course, encourage you to have a look at the Just Giving page, and if it appeals to you, then please do drop a donation, and we're looking forward to giving those away for a really good cause. But yeah, I think that's all of the
Ben, sorry, mate.
Related stuff.
Just to interrupt, Ben, sorry. Do you think worth telling the guys which shirts they are?
It probably would be a good idea, actually. You're going to have to explain to everyone what year they're from, because I wasn't born.
Of course.
So I'll do my very best to help you all as to which ones they are. But the green one from, I'm going to say around 1996. I think it was the away shirt in 96, 97.
Chris, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's about right. That's the last time we had a green away shirt, other than now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think. And I was literally, 7 or 8 year old, I think, something like 9-year-old when that were out. So, but I think from memory, it was the one when we got promoted and we won against Tranmere in that shirt. The last
I always
game
see
of the
Jamie
season.
Pollock in it.
I was just going to say, and Jamie Pollock scored for those. I think it's that one. And the other one is the one you may very well see me wearing from time to time, which is the one from 2001, which was our first year back in the Premier League on the Sam Allardyce when we beat Leicester 5-0 at Filbert Street. And that's the other shirt. So and the white, it was the white one, of course, the white one for those who were asking.
Yeah, the green shirt is from 96, 97.
Get it.
Also, I was forgetting we did have a green shirt which was in aid of Blesma, the military charity for limbless.
Yeah, we did. We did the
soldiers. So there was that. So not to forget that. So.
But yeah, they're two shirts and they're absolute belters as well. Really good quality given the so-called age of the shirts, as Ben's just alluded to. I think, like I said, I was 9 when the green one came out, and I would have been 12 when the white one, 13, something like that. So they are quite old, but now I'm 36. So yeah, I wasn't very, very, very depressing.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can I say? I don't want to insult you all, but
But you will anyway.
Old school. So
yeah,
I've just posted it in the chat. So the Just Giving page is over there. You can find out all the information, a little bit more about Sands as well. An incredible cause, a very, very worthy cause, and we're delighted to be working with one of our viewers to raise some money for them. Yeah. But speaking of new faces, the Wanderers have also been active in the transfer window, and there are some signings that have been made. We'll run through a couple of those. So we've enjoyed our pre-season walk to the training camp in Portugal, obviously in the Algarve, where new additions in Chris Farino, excuse the pronunciation, but Clyde Lolos and Luke Southwood have been in the mix, with the latter being restricted to gym work with a couple of the other lads. But they've been getting to know the lads. So what do we make of the transfer business so far? Let us know in the comments as we go through what you think of them. I'm going to give you all a player each. I'm going to give you a little bit of background information, some stats and whatnot. But we'll start with you, Ange. Luke Southwood, obviously a goalkeeper. 26 years of age. He turns 27 this year. 10 clean sheets last season, 16 the season before, averaging 1 in every 5 games last season with a 68.4% save percentage. Unfortunately for him, he's one of the lads that have been restricted to gym work because at the end of last season, and his 99th club appearance and his 92nd successive League One start, he unfortunately broke his leg, but he has, as I said, travelled to the Algarve, and he's joined Dion Charles, Jack Iredale, Rando Williams and Mendes Gomez in gym work. And hopefully that list isn't a sign of things to come, because that's a long list for pre-season. So hopefully they'll all be ironed out and raring to go. But what do you make of that signing, Ange?
I think he looks like a really good prospect. I know there's a little bit of uncertainty around Nathan with him coming in, whether it's a genuine challenge for that number 1 shirt or if there's a worry that Nathan might be off. But whatever, I think either of them will do a job, and I'm happy with that signing.
Yeah, and just to reiterate on that, I think that is, for me, a really, really positive signing, because Luke Southwood is very highly regarded in the football world. Very unfortunate recently with injuries, of course, but he was obviously at Reading prior to being at Cheltenham. And of course, when he was at Reading, he was very highly regarded. I think he won the World Cup with, I'm not so sure, I think it was with, I'm not sure it was with Borden, but one of them tournaments that the kids won a while back, he was involved in that. So obviously he's come through the ranks at England, and I know he's very highly regarded. But more to the point, I think having 2 top quality goalkeepers is so reassuring for us because we dropped points last season when Nathan was injured for the length of time that he was out for. So I'm absolutely ecstatic with that signing because I think he could be really, really shrewd one, in fairness.
Yes.
Absolutely. He's got experience, that's for certain, obviously, most recently with Cheltenham, but he also played with Reading in the Championship. He did half a season.
Yeah.
Well, he did 2 seasons. He featured once in one season, but he got 25 games under his belt, I think, in the Championship. And he played with Hamilton in the Scottish Premiership. So certainly a relatively marquee signing for a number 2, I think that's for certain. Up next, Chris Farino. Any guesses who I'm going to give this one to? So, Chris, we'll hand over to you for this one. He turned 24 in April this year. Very well respected centre half with Wycombe fans singing his praises after his departure from the Chairboys. He's had 3 successive seasons in League One, playing in a Wycombe side that finished 6th, 9th, and 10th respectively. 30 games in each of his last 2 seasons. Unfortunately, no goal contributions last season, but the season before he recorded an impressive 4 goals and 1 assist. And at 6'2", he's certainly got some height to him. So, Chris, what do you make of bigger Chris?
It's a low bar. I'm impressed. I'm impressed based on obviously what we see of him is limited, unless all of a sudden you have a penchant for watching Wycombe Wanderers, which if you're not playing Bolton, you really don't. Let's face it. But from speaking to some of the Wycombe fans who I've got to know over the last couple of years, I think that the reaction to him going was the key, really. They're looking at kicking on this season. They've made some good signings already, and they wanted him as a focal point of that development and progress this season. So it says a lot for him. He interviews really well. Talking about his goal contributions, he's set his sights on doing that. And I think obviously, even though we've got that physical presence at the back, it's notoriously limited in terms of goal output. So he's set himself a target of 5 for the season, which is ambitious. But I like his attitude in that regard. He's a confident lad. He's a very fit lad. And I think he looks like he'll fit in really, really well. But as I think Radix has just mentioned, you don't know. You can't really judge any of the new signings until they're integrated and you actually see them as part of a Bolton Wanderers team. And I think that's key. How well we've done in terms of identifying and developing talent across the last few years. Obviously, big shout out to Chris Markham. And also,
and more importantly, he fits the song.
What's that? Andy fits the waterfall song as well. Yeah, if Paris don't come back, we can chew on him in there. And obviously Cameron's gone, so yeah, we'll need him. So I'm not going to sing it. But
go on, give us a rendition.
No.
Defense, you've got Chris Farino.
Wow.
You are
angel.
Just to add on the signing as well, Chris, just elaborate a little bit on that. I did a bit of podcasting with Gab last week, and I was discussing with
There we go.
Representing the Fanzone Podcast, should I say, with Gab Sutton. No, I was talking about, for me, the element of imbalance from what I can see with the signing in terms of the amount of defenders that we've got at our disposal. I think we may very well be preparing for a bid, in my view, of one of our defenders. It's just an observation.
Don't you? I watched it, Colin. I watched it.
No, what I said was, if I was a Championship club and I was looking at our defenders, he would be the one that would be the one I'd be looking at.
Yeah.
He's international. He's getting picked for Ireland now. He's performing pretty much week in, week out for us. Out of position, may I add as well. Last season, left side of a back five or a back three, which isn't his position. And I think he's a hell of an asset. And I think if I was a Norwich or if I was a club of that type in the Championship, I'm looking at him. And I think we're preparing for it, I'll be honest, because there's just a lot of centre-halves in that team at the moment. He's already said Rico's going nowhere. I can't see Rico going anywhere. I don't think he would, to be honest, contract-wise and stuff. I don't know. But I don't want to wait. I'm rambling, but I feel there's something there for us.
Rumour has it there have been 2 already. We aren't that pod though. So
No, we're not. It's just an observation. I'm just elaborating on the signing. That's all. Anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
All of this talk about new signings and new faces has got me all giddy.
Talking about
So-
your hair, is that what we're going to do now?
No,
You've
no,
not,
no,
you've
no,
not spoken about
absolutely
Lolos
not.
yet.
Absolutely, we've not.
Yeah.
Colin's rambling is set to continue as we look at Lolos. But first, we are going to give you a sneak preview of our new look with all our new sponsors and all our shiny new badges on there. And so, I give to you your new look for the Fanzone podcast. Some micro adjustments needed from the team. We didn't prepare for this one. But there you have it. This is our new look for the season.
Very
But
posh.
the final signing, Colin will give this one to you. Kaleidi Lolos, so formerly of Crawley Town, Torquay and Plymouth Argyle. He seems to be a versatile lad, supposedly capable of playing as a midfielder, a number 10 and even as a centre forward. Last season in a Crawley side that were promoted to League One, he registered an impressive 18 goal contributions consisting of 13 goals, none of which were penalties, and 5 assists, which is pretty impressive output. 46 games played, only starting 27, which make his numbers appear that little bit better. Looks like an attempt to fill the void that Paris Magoma left behind, which is big shoes to fill, in that sort of creative, progressive, dangerous midfielder. Paris's future remains uncertain. I think there's been rumours of yes and no and maybe and definitely not and all sorts, but we aren't that podcast. I'm going to be honest, I don't think anybody probably really knows. But thoughts on that signing, Cole?
Well, on the face of it, an impressive one given his stats last season. I know he contributed quite a lot of last season towards the back end or the latter stages of the season in terms of his output. One thing for me with him is quite clearly a very, very versatile footballer. So that probably highlights to me and many others, no doubt, that we are looking to be a little bit more fluid, shall we say, with our formations. When you're signing players who are apparently comfortable playing in several positions. I mean, looking at his statistics from last season, out of his 56 games played across all competitions, he played 10 games as a centre forward, 8 games as an attacking midfielder, 5 games as a centre midfielder, 7 games as a defensive midfielder, and a couple of games out on the wings, believe it or not. So, I mean, that is just unbelievable. I mean, I listened to his interview on Wanderers TV, and he said that he sees himself more as I think he said more of a number 9. But I can't see him. I can't see him being up there, really. I can in certain situations, of course, when it's necessary for us to change tactically and maybe give us a different dimension up top. But you can't see him getting in front of the 2 lads up top, from last season. And even when you take into consideration, you've got Vic and as well as Daniel Lundley to come back as well. So I see him more deeper, possibly, hopefully, because I think we still need that presence in midfield that I've been screaming out for the last 18 months. But, I mean, only time will tell. On the face of it, it seems like a good signing, but he was only playing League 2 last season, and it is a step up.
Of course, I think the point you made reference there about versatility is a good one. there's a number of players now that we've got that are capable of playing in numerous positions. You look at Mendes Gomez, who's set to come back. Obviously, Kalani, Lolos in the midfield. Collins as well can play, a little bit deeper. He can play out wide. There does seem to be, Everett mentioned it in one of his presses, I believe, that a plan 2.0 is, in the making. And it does certainly seem that some of the signings have been geared towards that. Do you think that's been a long anticipated or awaited change, Cole?
No, not really. No, because I think what we do it well, and the way we play it well. I mean, let's be honest. We were like 5 points from top 2 last season, was it? In the end, playing, in my opinion, really, really attractive football and scoring a lot of goals. So no, I just think that maybe Everett's just evolving in his from a coaching perspective at the level that we're at. So I don't know. I just think he's just evolving as a coach, really, Ben. And naturally, you're going to try and introduce new ways of playing. I mean, he's been here 4 years now, hasn't he? And he's played the same way for 4 years, so he's going to evolve over time, isn't he? He's not played for the whole 4 years. He's played for a good percentage of that time. The way the way we play now, so he's evolving, isn't he?
Absolutely. There's definitely been a shake-up in the Wanderers camp, that's for certain. Some new faces and possibly new ways of playing. And that's not the only place that's had a shake-up. Obviously, you've seen before that we've welcomed a whole host of sponsors to the podcast, but they aren't just sponsors of the podcast. They're, of course, sponsors of different segments of the podcast. So a little bit of a new way of bringing these things to you. But to run you through those again, your post-match reactions will be back for Season 3, and that'll be brought to you by Johnston Tiling. The Fanzone Fan Focus, and I know it's a fan favourite, that will return again, much to Chris's delight. That'll be brought to you by Wooden Grounds. The Fanzone Man of the Match will be brought to you by iHeat. Get Stat On, brought to you by Jenna Louise Salmon. All of your numbers and preview shows and previews for statistics and numbers and figures and facts will be delivered by Callum, and we can't wait for that. But your media partner, D20 Creative. And of course, the preview show brought to you by Loving My Socials. But there is one more, there's 2 more left. This season, we're bringing an all new section to the show. We'll be rounding up Twitter. We'll be rounding up the replies on Twitter. We'll be finding those "It's not too late to delete this" moments, and we'll be bringing you Cole's Catch of the Week, which is brought to you by Football Away Days. And I know that Colin absolutely can't wait to get this one started, can you?
Oh, yes. I don't know how much I can use my own tweets to get involved in.
None of them.
None. Zero. You can't win it every week.
Tweeting's cheating.
So that might be quite difficult then. But I'm looking forward to delving into some of the posts that are out there that fly around in social media and bringing them to people's attention. Yeah, it should be fun.
Very, very politely put. It's not what he says in the group chat, I can assure you.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it though. It's going to be a great segment. It'll be nice and fun and lighthearted. And the way it's going to work is that Cole will obviously be in and around surfing and looking for things, but you'll also have the opportunity to submit things into us that Colin will be able to look through. And we are planning almost like imagine a You've Been Framed, but for people on Twitter. Hopefully looking to give away some nice prizes for you for the best ones. So stay tuned for that one. And of course, your headline sponsor, the Fanzone Podcast, brought to you by us and Eco Warm Windows. And that is all you need to know on our sponsors. All in all, we've got a very, very exciting season lined up for you. There'll be some updates about in-person events and live content coming your way very, very soon. Something we are really, really excited and highly anticipated, I think is the way to put it. We're keen to meet up with you all and get chatting and do some things in person very, very, very soon. But thank you all very much for joining us for another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, then please be sure to leave a 5-star review on Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube. It is completely free and it helps us out a lot. Until the next time, though, you've been tuned into the Fanzone Podcast.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.